topics today. The first topic is
Gotta make up for last.
the first topic is about the evil inclination and the good inclination that we have. We mentioned about it. We mentioned about it last time. And the second topic we're going to have today is actually very interesting. It's Adam and Eve, Adam and Chava. How were they created?
The source of all our troubles.
And how they were created. So we'll start off with the first topic. We say in the Shema prayer, V'ahavta, you have to love, as Hashem Elokecha, God, your God. And we say, B'chol levavacha, with all of your hearts. The word levavacha is plural. And we learned that from there. B'shnei yitzerecha, with the two inclinations. We have a Yetzer Hara and a Yetzer Tov. The evil inclination, the bad inclination, and the good inclination. Now, where do we have a source of these two inclinations? There's a couple of places where it's derived from, where the rabbis have learned and taught that we have these two sides inside of us. But we actually, in Genesis chapter 2, it says, Vayitzer Hashem, and God formed. The word Yitzer, the root of the word Yitzer is Yud Tzadik Reish, and it means God formed man. And the word Yitzer is spelled in the Torah with an extra Yud. It could have said Vav, Va Yitzer, Vav Yud Tzadik Reish, and we have an extra Yud, one of the Hebrew alphabet, extra Yud in that word. So Rabbi Chisda says, what's the reason why God put in the Torah extra Yud? Every letter in the Torah is precise. If you have an extra letter or a letter less, every single letter is precise. So why is the word Vayitzer and God formed written in the Torah with an extra Yud? And he explains, because God created two Yetzers, two inclinations inside of us. The word Yitzer, which means formed, is the same exact letters as a different word in Hebrew for Yetzer. Yetzer is Yud Tzadik Reish, means God formed. Yetzer is inclination. The fact that it had two Yuds represents the two inclinations that we have. We mentioned earlier we have the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara. So here we have a scriptural source for these two inclinations that we have inside of us. The good one and the bad one. And we spoke last week, why does God do it? We spoke last week that it's the ultimate war that never ends. It's not like a battle that you have an end game. This is something that's our whole life's mission. And it's actually the reason why God put us into this world where we have this challenge so we can accomplish and fight evil. That's why we're here. Otherwise, God could have just created us as angels and could have pre-programmed us what he wants us to do. And we would automatically be doing every single mitzvah, every single commandment, and we would be learning the whole day, and everything would be perfect. It would be a perfect world. And God could have done that, and it wouldn't have taken any effort from him to do such, make such a world. And if he wants performance, if that's what God wants, is just performance, he should have done that. He should have programmed us to be angels, and we would have been performing excellent. But we all know that's not true. True enjoyment comes from a battle, when you have a challenge and you overcome.
It's true.
It's true.
That's why some people like fighting with everybody they meet.
No, winning the battles, but not the battle. Not fighting as in hands.
You don't
fighting
enjoy
as
the
a
battle
challenge.
itself.
If somebody with AI would be able to, if they're going to come up with AI chips, how a person's going to be able to implant in his brain a little microchip of AI, and now whatever AI knows, he has now in his brain.
I mean, it's already happening,
They're doing implanting in people's brains.
Companies don't know link, but
Elon Musk has already implanted a chip in a human brain.
All right.
2 times.
Yeah.
So most people, I would imagine, wouldn't want such a But,
You may not have a choice.
well, you already got the vaccine, so you're already too late.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. That's why my good nature is blossoming all over the place.
No, but all kidding aside, if they would down the line, some point, it's going to be a choice to do it. Any normal parent wouldn't do that for their child because we're here in life to work our way through life, not just to have all the answers to all the questions and all solutions to all problems.
Do you
I
turn
don't
your
know.
brain off on Shabbos?
No, you just leave it on.
We actually have somebody here in Shul. He used to come, Menachem Yosef. He had a surgery on his brain, and he has a battery.
Yeah.
A physical,
Parkinson's, maybe.
yeah, for Parkinson's, and he has a battery with a wire going through, and it gives him.
Hey, that's been around
Stimulates,
forever.
yeah.
Right, and just it's
As long as
interesting.
it's on, it's on.
He's like, I have a battery right now. Give me. All right, so
But you can't adjust the carburetor on Shabbos, you know?
okay, so here we have this scriptural source for the two inclinations, the Yitzhahara and the Yitzhak. So now comes along Rabbi Nachman, and he asks a question, and he says, if you're saying that the two yuds, those two letters, mean that God created two yitzers, two inclinations, we find that an animal also has these two inclinations. Now, obviously, the inclination that an animal has is not the same as we have. But an animal has a bad side and a good side. You have the time that the animal's calm and relaxed and sitting and he's cute and you can go over to him. And then you have him going and kicking and biting and chasing and killing. So he also has the two sides, the good side and the bad side. And by the animal, it doesn't say the word vayitzer. When God formed the animal, it doesn't say with two yuds. It says it just with one. So this is basically comes to show that you cannot say that the two yuds show us that you have two inclinations, because by animal, it doesn't say two yuds, and he does have two inclinations. Now, on a side note, what is the difference between an animal and a human? This is probably a very wild, very spoken about a lot, but just in short, the difference between the good side and the bad side of an animal and the good side and the bad side of a human being is by an animal, it's tendencies. It's
An instinct.
Instincts. This is what he is.
That's what it does.
Pre-programmed, and this is what he does. He has calm times and he has wild times. He doesn't have an angel inside of him giving him a challenge. Should he do something, and he's able to overcome that challenge.
He's not making this choice.
He doesn't make a choice. Exactly. And that's the biggest difference. And maybe some National Geographic would disagree with me, but this is what it says in the Torah, that animals don't have free choice.
They say that humans are mammals, which is a type of animal. They don't say that humans have souls.
Okay, so the Torah teaches us that humans.
I know some animals that are real snakes.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
So the Torah teaches us that human beings, by definition, is that we have free choice. So the two sides that we have are not instincts. It's actually an angel. It says over here, it's a sar, it's a minister from God, a godly minister that comes inside of us and is directing us and trying to push us to
In
do.
which direction?
We have two. There's two angels. One is pushing in one
When I
direction.
leave this body,
and
there's going to be so much violence you can't believe.
It's a constant battle. You know, there's a joke. There was this yeshiva student that had a hard time waking up in the morning. He had to come to school, come to yeshiva, and he would come late. And every day he had a different excuse why he was late. And one time he comes with a interesting excuse. He tells the mashgiach, is the guy sitting by the front door, is like, "Why are you late?" He says, "Listen, I woke up this morning, and my evil inclination was telling me to go back to bed and fall back asleep, and my good inclination was telling me it's time to get up." And it was such a fight, battle back and forth. And I told them, "You know what? You guys fight it out. Wake me up when you're done." So
What happens if you can't get up in the morning because it's physiological?
what is that? Physical.
It's a body, you know, like
disease,
you
maybe.
can't go over to a crippled man and say, "Stop
Right?
that,
You
tap
can't.
dancing."
It's not. So you gotta say it's not the evil inclination. Then we'll have to fight his inclination in other
So-
areas.
Let me move forward a hindered son secure. So here I am, floating in the void. I'm no longer David because that's my corporeal name, who am I?
You have a soul. You're
I'm
a
a soul. Does my soul have a specific name, or my name?
So usually they do keep the name that you are in this world.
No, they have
It
to
says-
identify you.
It says that when you come up upstairs, one of the first questions they ask you is what's your name, and the Shema is supposed to respond.
It's the name that you were given, right?
No,
Yeah.
That's how we know you're alive.
And it actually says that a lot of times the soul forgets it. What's the name? Throughout the whole process of death, and it's embarrassing for the soul to forget its name. I guess eventually they remind him. So there's actually a segula, something that we do, to help for this specific detail. When we say the Amidah, the prayer that we say when we're Shemona Esrei, the prayer that we say. So at the end, very, very end, right before we take 3 steps back. So there's a custom to stick in to say a verse from the Torah that begins and ends with your name. So, for example, my name is Dovber. So there's a verse in the Torah that says Dan v'Naftali Gad v'Asher. The first letter of that verse is Dalid, and the last letter of that verse is a Reish, Asher, and that's my verse. And everyone has their verse that they find, and they say that verse at the end of the prayer. And this helps for when you go to heaven, not to forget your name.
So where it's coming from? The prayer is coming from this person. Is this why you do it?
Yeah, so I could check it up afterwards. What's your verse? I'll find. There's a book that has all the
I would love
verses.
to know that.
Yeah, and then
So while
we have it over here. I'll show you after. The verse
So
has all
now-
the names.
So now while I'm floating around, okay, trying to remember my name, what happens to these 2 angels that have been tormenting me my whole life?
So the I don't know they there's a judgment when you come upstairs. There's a judgment called Beis Din Shel Maila, the rabbinical court of upstairs of heaven, and a person is judged, and all his merits versus all his dismerits. Every time he did a mitzvah, he did a good deed, he creates positive good angels. And every time he does the opposite, he creates not good angels. And all these angels come to testify that I was created for this merit. He gave this much charity. He did put on tefillin this day, and it was so hard for him to do this, and he did it anyways. And he was a kind person, and all the kindness that the person did all gathers up, and they all say all his merits. And all the misdeeds come, and they say, "Oh,
He sucked, yeah.
and we were created by this misdeed that he did, and this
But
sin
what if
that
I
he did."
say, I'm sorry, my personal case, I said I made a lot of mistakes. It's human, right? In the past.
You'll be there with me.
But then I realized maybe 10 years later I made a mistake.
No, so that's something called teshuvah. Teshuvah is repentance.
Yes.
Right?
What if you're full
Repentance is always accepted for every single sin. Now, some sins
As
are
long as you
horrible,
realize it.
but the catch is that repentance only works in this world. Once the time expires,
finished.
once it's over, you can't say then, "Oh, I
I'm
miss
so
it.
sorry.
I miss it."
So
Doesn't work.
you have to realize your mistakes here and now,
Yes,
not then.
that's why it says in the Rambam, every day a person should do teshuvah.
I think it's amazing. Yeah.
That's why every day
So
after
that's why you pray.
after
and you-
prayer,
you-
throughout a couple times throughout the prayer, we're asking God for
Exactly.
forgiveness, because we're doing bad things all day, and right away we need to ask God to forgive us.
Mhm.
So once you're forgiven, and God forgives us again and again and again, because
Let me
God's
ask-
kindness
but
is
when you ask for
everlasting.
forgiveness, right? Do you ask specifically for what, or just?
So if you look in the translation to the prayer right after the Amidah,
Mhm.
there's a list. It goes through a whole bunch of sins. And it doesn't mean that we did all those sins every day,
Yeah.
but it goes through all the different categories of sins, and that includes everything. If someone knows a specific sin that he did, you are supposed to either verbally or at least acknowledge that sin that you did, and commit never to do it again and to return to Hashem. There's a whole chapters, books about how to do teshuvah and
What happens if you were really on the right road, but you weren't self-actuated?
Mhm.
Meaning, events in your life happened, and instead of going this way, you went this way.
right. So God is the ultimate. I think we spoke about this once in the past. God is the ultimate true judge. And what you could tell, what you could justify to a human being, he'll only know according to what circumstances you tell him, or what he sees. God, being the ultimate true judge, knows not only what you're going to tell him, he knows everything what actually went through your mind, and he knows what the circumstances were. And God, only being the true judge, is going to judge according to circumstances. So obviously, if a child was born in a assimilated family, and he grew up without any, or USSR, and he grew up without any Torah knowledge, and he's not going to be held accountable for things that he doesn't know. So for someone that went through a perfect Jewish upbringing and then just decided to drop everything. Also, even someone that did go through a perfect Jewish upbringing, but he had personal challenges, he had a death in his family, or something bad happened, and he got angry, and he got depressed. Obviously, those people also can't be held accountable, or at least not the same, right? Yeah, I know someone that he went through extremely hard divorce, and he went into depression, and he dropped everything. Oh, you're such a person. You can't come to him with complaints and say, "Oh, how do you stop putting on tefillin?" Now, God takes all this into account, and God knows what's going on through his mind, and God knows if he is able to or not, and he's going to be judged accordingly.
My father was asking for tefillin this morning, but the thing is, he has trouble putting on tefillin because one of his arms doesn't work.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's his left arm. So he can't put the tefillin on the left arm because it's always like this.
Right.
Since he can't move it, he can only put it on the right arm.
You asked the rabbi if you should do that?
Well, I went and he gave me a set of tefillin. Unfortunately, the shell rosh was separated from its straps.
And it still is?
Yeah, you had the shell rosh like this, and the straps of the shell rosh.
It's easy to fix.
Listen, I'm not.
So bring it to me, I'll fix it for you. But it could be you have to ask a rabbi. It could be if
It
somebody was a whole life.
My father's tefillin. It was, like they have like several pairs of tefillin if anybody needs to use it.
Mm-hmm. If someone is 100% a righty, and he puts on tefillin on his left, and now for a certain circumstance he can't put on his left, you don't just switch to the right.
I know, like my father, he will always put on his talis, but he won't always put on the tefillin.
Okay, if he can't.
No, he can do it on his right arm.
Right, I'm saying that we only want to hold people accountable for what they're able to do.
This sounds like Belshazzar.
What is that?
Doesn't it? The king.
Oh, Belshazzar.
Yeah,
All right.
Belshazzar,
Right.
yeah, the finger of God wrote, "You've been weighed, measured, and divided from your kingdom."
100%,
And
right.
can I sue the evil inclination angel?
Could you sue him? Well, he actually is in a very, very difficult situation, because he's gonna get.
Is for the guy who's getting me thrown out of
I'll give
paradise.
you.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you, you bastard.
No, so I
Go
tell you
ahead,
why you
tell
feel
me.
bad. I'll tell you why. Because he is forced to do what he has to do.
Well, what?
God is forcing him to do it. You got to do.
Lucky me.
And
Oh, he's pointing a finger, you notice? And
he's gonna suffer for it.
And what?
He's gonna suffer for it.
He's gonna suffer for
Yes.
it? What about me? You think he's suffering as much as I?
So when Mashiach comes, it says that they're going to show the Yetzer Hara as a little fly, a little thing, a little zvuv, a little fly, and the tzaddikim are going to say the tzaddikim, the righteous people are going to see the Yetzer Hara as a mountain, and the wicked people are going to see him as a little fly. And the wicked people are going to say, this guy, tiny little guy, this is the guy that got me to do all these things, this tiny little nothing. How could it be? They're going to cry. And they're going to be, how could I? And the righteous people are going to see like a mountain. They're going to be like, wow, how did I overcome this? God customizes the evil inclination according to each person, according to where he's holding, and according to what he's able to do. Now, the mashal, the example given and brought down in Medrash for the Yetzer Hara, for the evil inclination. So you have a king that he wants his son to be very upright, and he gives him the best education, and he teaches him all moral and everything that moral standards and a normal way of living. And then he becomes 18 years old, and now the father wants to test him to see if he's going to withstand where he's going to stand up for whatever he was taught. So the king hires a zayna, a harlot, to try to seduce his son to go with her. And
You notice there's a lot of that going around. Young 18-year-old men are getting seduced a lot.
this is a parable. It's not a real story.
It's a
Just-
parable.
So
It's an anecdote for some of us,
Anytime.
but go ahead.
so now, in order for the test to be a real test, the harlot has to do a good job. She has to really try to do this. If you're just gonna be, you want to come?
If you're gonna skip on the details, Rabbi.
So if she doesn't
Don't
do
let
a,
them skip so fast.
she doesn't
Go
do a
ahead.
good job, then it's not going to be a good test. So the king wants her to do a very, very good job. Try really, really hard, right? Now, what happens if the guy falls for it?
Oops, he's the prince.
He's the prince, but guess what's going to happen to the harlot? You caused my son to sin.
Yeah.
She's going to get in trouble, right? So she's in a different
Not
situation.
necessarily.
On one hand, the king wants her to try her best. On the other hand, if she succeeds, that's what happens to the Yetzer Hara. God is telling him to try very hard. He's not doing it because he has his own. He's an angel. Angels don't have free choice.
Okay, I understand this. However, I have a covenant. So comes the time for the what do you call it? The judgment. And all things are weighed and measured and divided. And I go, but I have a covenant with you.
Right. So the punishment is never everlasting. Even the worst Jews, they
meaning never ever lasts is not a time frame. Is it last for a second? Does it last for?
in
You don't say more than a year in hell.
right. There's no doom forever in Judaism.
So just jump into the fire
So,
and get it over with.
There's a cleansing.
You're
The
a
punishment,
charmer.
the punishments are cleansing. It's a cleansing. It's not a
Why?
dooming. You're
I already
gone.
know I'm going to hell, so why should I waste time in the courtroom?
Okay, let's move
And you
on.
wonder why this place is empty.
Okay,
ahead.
so we said that, but we're going back to the animal. The animal has also the good and bad, but over there it didn't say with the two yuds. So therefore, Nachman says the word vayitzer with two yuds. The reason why God wrote that word and He formed man with two yuds is to teach us something slightly different. What does he say? Reb Shimon ben Pazi, he says, "Oili mi yoitzri, oili mi yitzri." A person, a human being, constantly has these two pulls inside of
The
him,
struggle.
between trying to appease his creator and trying to not appease, but or trying to follow
himself.
or his evil inclination. So if he is pulled after his inclination, then my creator is gonna come after me. And if I'm trying to follow my creator, then I have the evil inclination on my back trying to get me. So a person has these two struggles, and this is hinted out in the two yuds because, like I said before, the word yitzer, formed, also has the same word as yoitzer, creator. So the same word has both meanings because a person has this struggle, this constant struggle. Another explanation. Why does it say two yuds? Because God, when He formed man, actually formed two beings. And this is where we lead to the second topic I told you we're going to have today of Adam and Eve. God created man with two forms. He created front and a back. Adam was created one side, and his wife, Chava, his future wife, was created behind him. And they were created attached. You ever heard this before?
The what?
They were created attached.
This is a very old Greek legend.
So it's in Torah. It's not
Oh,
good.
well, where do you think
the
they
Greeks
did
had to
everything?
get it
Right, I'm just
from,
like, yeah, it's
They,
real.
they were together, and the gods got jealous because they were so perfect
No.
together.
So that's
a different story.
that's the story. But the fact, that's where they twisted it.
Oh,
But
okay.
but the fact that they were created together, it
Yeah,
says it
I've
right
heard
here.
this.
It says Achor v'Kadam Tzirtanya. God created the front and the back, two separate beings, but they were. And then God afterwards made an operation and separated them, and then closed the flesh from of Adam to separate them. What's the reason why God did this way? There's a couple of reasons. One's to show that the man dominates. Well, we'll get to that soon. Actually, who dominates? But it's important that the lesson is that man is not complete without a wife, and his life is not really complete without a wife, and that is why God created them together. Animals were created separately. And we see the fact is, but animals are very rare for them to stay every mating season with the same partner. But however, humans are supposed to have one set partner, try at least if it works out. If it works out, to try to stay the whole life married to the same partner, because and we see that for the fact that God created them together, that they're really one entity. So now, where exactly did God create Chava from? So one explanation is like we just said, they were created. Not everyone agrees with that. There's some different commentaries that say that it wasn't like that. Some commentaries say that there was a tail. Now, when we say tail, Adam was created with a tail, but don't start imagining a tail like in the picture books. Tail, the word zanov, which in Hebrew means tail, is used for any excess flesh, anything extra. So like a wart would be called the same word, the son of tail. So Adam had behind him some type of wart or some type of extra skin, and God used that to build up Chava, build up Eve from that extra skin. So there's two opinions. Either God created it from a bone or from the actual created being that was already there, and then separated them, or that he created from this extra flesh. So the next piece of the Gemara goes back and forth between these two opinions, whether it was from a tail or the extra flesh, extra skin, or from a actual form. Different verses proving one side as being better than the other. Because God, in the Torah, we have hints or specific things showing one over the other. For example, it says, we mentioned before, it says, Achar v'kadam tzartani, which means you created man with a front and a back. So that shows more that, according to the opinion, that there was a second being over there. So according to the guy that says tail, how does he explain that verse? So he has a different explanation. He explains that verse differently. What does it mean that a man was created with a front and a back? Different explanation. What's his explanation? Man was created last. Front and back means last and first. Same idea as being last and first. Achar, which means behind, means last. Comes the word acharein, last. And kadam, means front, also could mean first. Those two words are intertwined. So front and back means first and last. Man was created last for one thing and first for something else. For what? So man was created. Anyone else? What was man created last? In creation. Man was created last. God first created the entire world, and man was created last. Why? Because the ultimate purpose of the world.
King, right?
So then, okay, that's an explanation. Another explanation is that since the whole world is for main purpose of why God has made the world is for the human being to do his job in the world, so he's created last, and the world is ready. It's like you have a feast. You're not going to first invite the guest and then start preparing the meal. First you prepare the banquet, and then you call in the guest. So first we created the whole world, everything is ready, then man is created. What's man first for? We have different explanations of what he was first for. We thought first in the beginning maybe it means for punishments, meaning right when they sinned, Adam was punished for sin of the eating from the tree, right? Eitz hadas. So Adam was punished. So he was right away getting punished. But that's the Gemara pushes that away, saying no, Adam wasn't actually first. The snake was first, then the wife, and then he was last. So from those three, he was last. So
there's a thing before Eve. There was Lilith.
I don't know what that is.
You didn't. That's not a Jew.
Not a Jewish thing.
Okay, forget that.
Unless it's the snake. Is that the snake, or are you talking about something
No,
else?
it said before there was Eve, there was another called Lilith.
Not a Jewish. Not a Jewish.
Okay.
Not a Jewish
That's not
thing.
Judaism?
No.
This is what happens when you read all the literature of
Okay.
the See,
That's why it's good you're coming to the Torah class, so you get to know.
I come into Torah class, which now begs the question, am I being dragged here by my evil inclination or my good inclination?
What do you think? What do you think?
Huh?
What do you think?
Judging by my company? Isn't it
I think it's
self-evident
clear.
truth?
I think it's
Why
clear.
I'm here?
I think it's clear that you're
Do I get a public defender angel just in case?
every single time you come here for sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna be there.
But only
You're going to
one.
be my public defender angel?
Not an angel. I'll be.
God.
You'll
Wait
be
a
the
minute, wait a
defense
minute.
attorney.
Why am I suffering for Adam's sin?
He's your great grandfather.
So, listen, if you're going to let me suffer, give me a big inheritance,
You have one waiting for you. Big one.
Yeah, oh, am I getting a big one? Let me tell you.
Okay. So we can't say it's talking about that punishment. So which punishment do we see that man was punished first? And we say it's talking about the flood. By the time of the flood, so when the flood came, it says in the verse, in the Torah says that the flood wiped out all men and all animals. And it says man before animals. So we see that man was punished, comes before, is in front, first, to be getting punished. So man was created last in creation and first in getting punished. Now, what's the reason for that? Like, why you say it's not fair? Why do we get punished first? It's not fair. And the same explanation is for both. Why was man created last? Because man is the ultimate of creation. That's why the whole creation is for man. And why is man first to get punished? Because again, you're going against your purpose of your creation. If you're created to do something and you do the other thing, then you get punished. It points out that it comes out.
Yeah, but you don't know what you're created to do.
When you learn Torah, you
What's your
learn
purpose?
when you learn that.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a
you're talking.
general
You're
purpose.
talking about specific in the Torah
That's right, I
itself.
wanna
Okay.
know what specific
Well, we don't know.
purpose.
Well, the Rebbe actually gives a advice to know which specific mitzvah you're here for.
Okay, and what's that?
Whatever mitzvah is the hardest for you to do, that's the one you're created for. Because the Yetzer Hara is putting up the biggest fight for that thing. He doesn't want you to do what you were created for.
Ah.
So whatever you see is the hardest mitzvah for you to do, that's one of your mitzvahs that you got to do. That's the main ones you got to do.
What?
You have to do all of them.
Don't,
but
aren't there
specifically-
mitzvahs, where you get reward by not doing it?
There's some mitzvahs that you can't. For example, you can't work on Shabbos, so you get a
Right.
mitzvah for not working on Shabbos.
Yeah.
In all my learning, I was taught by my parents, you don't do mitzvahs for the sake of accumulating mitzvahs. You do mitzvahs because this is what God has told you to do, and mitzvahs was not part of the equation. Righteousness was part of the equation. Righteousness is the equation. Meaning,
I'm not sure I understand.
okay, you take
You
this
say,
guy.
talking about reward. You say you're told by your parents not
you
for
don't
reward.
you don't obey commandments for the sake of accumulations of merit. You
Oh,
do
merit, a reward. You mean?
a reward. You don't do it.
Right,
for
right,
that.
right. No, that says in the Pirkei Avos, the best way to serve God is not in order to receive a
Yes,
reward.
that's
right.
what you're supposed to
Yes,
do.
that is the best way. Not everyone's able to reach
Cover
that. Yeah, did we have that?
Yeah. Long while ago.
I don't remember. It's in Pirkei Avos. It says you're supposed to serve God not in order to receive a
Yes,
reward.
that's
You
how
should
I
do it
was-
shalel menas l'kavod pras, not in order to
And
get a
most
reward.
people do the opposite, actually.
However, if you can't, if that not everyone's able to reach that level, and for someone that can't reach that level, it says it's better so a person should do it shalei lishma, which means do it in order to get reward, and then eventually you'll get to a point where you're doing it not for reward. But no person shouldn't say, "Oh, since I'm not going to do it for the real purpose, so then I won't do anything." That's wrong. That's a trick coming from the Yetzer Hara. Tells a person, don't put on tefillin today. Why? I used to get this all the time when I used to ask people to put on tefillin in the street. Oh, I can't do it. Why? I don't want to be a hypocrite. Why are you going to be a hypocrite?
Yeah.
Because I don't keep any mitzvot, and all of a sudden now I'm going to
But
put on
it's the only
tefillin.
thing I'm good
That's
at.
a hypocrite. That's a trick.
You need to take classes.
That's a trick from the evil inclination. He wants to stop the person from putting on tefillin. He knows it's a massive, massive mitzvah, and he's going to bring his soul, who knows how high. So the Yetzer Hara, being cunning and smart, he tells the person, "Oh, you can't put on tefillin because you're going to be a hypocrite." It's a false narrative that he sticks into the person's mind. So
I like the phraseology, a false narrative.
Yeah.
I'm going to co-opt it with your permission.
co-opt. What does that mean?
He's
Make
gonna
it
take
part
it.
of myself.
Oh, false narrative. I didn't make it up.
He's going to steal it from you, Rabbi.
You a classy guy.
Okay.
Of course.
So So again, so the reason why man was created last is because he's the ultimate of creation, and the reason why he was punished, man is punished first because he's going against the reason why he was created.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You're on YouTube, let us say. So
Right.
you do Zoom or whatever the current
Right.
thing is. There are other rabbis that also have dissertations.
Right.
Is there a conflict? If let's say you are my Tuesday night 8:15 inspiration,
Right.
and then there's another rabbi, Three Fingers Colucci out of Sicily, and he gives a dissertation Thursday at 8:15, and I hear what he says. Is there a conflict?
God forbid. The more, the better. I wish you'd be sitting in your apartment the whole day, listening the whole day to Torah class.
Yeah, but that gets confusing.
No.
No,
Right.
if it's,
No,
to my
the-
thinking,
people-
you
okay, so-
have 3 rabbis, you have 10,000 opinions.
So we're not. There's barely. There's yes, there are differences of opinion, but we're not. There's no differences of opinion in most of the matters in Torah. There's difference of opinion in certain laws. You might have a different opinion about do it this way or do it that way. But when it comes to the actual knowledge of Torah, or the actual what is Torah asking us to do, or what is God, and there's no difference of opinions. There's whole different ways how to serve God, and we're not arguing. You're not going to hear any rabbi is going to tell you, oh, don't listen to that rabbi because unless he's not Orthodox, don't listen to that guy because he has wrong opinions. If he's an Orthodox rabbi, we all have one Torah, one God. It's all the same. Yeah, there's difference. Some guys will tell you if there's a string around Brooklyn, so you're allowed to carry. Another rabbi would tell you, no, better not to carry. Only if you have a string in a small courtyard, you could do it. But if it's a big thing, you just can't carry. So there you'll have difference of opinions. But that's not like don't listen to his Torah class because he holds up the Eruv. Come on, you know.
So hold on.
So you should listen to Torah as much as you could.
Those
And
Torah
it's
rabbis,
because
you should be on Torah
You go to
anytime.
TorahAnytime.com.
It should be on what?
If you go to TorahAnytime.com, you'll have tens of thousands of Torah lectures on any single topic that you think of from hundreds of rabbis. And they're all Orthodox, and they're all good classes, and they're all vetted, and they're all checked out. And the more Torah you learn, the better. You're just going to gain. And every time you learn Torah, by the way, your soul's connecting to God. So the more the better. Every free moment
So
you
what
have.
happens when you are given this thing to overcome, and you have overcome it?
There's no end. We said last
There's
week.
no end.
No end game.
So I'm going to be tormented through the aeons.
It's only tormented if you look at it as a torment. But if you look at it as a challenge and as a winning opportunity, then it's not really tormented.
It's a good refrain, actually.
As
Look
long
at it
as,
as a challenge.
my
Yeah, look at it as a challenge. You know, I tell you a story. There was a rabbi. I mean, there is a rabbi in Minnesota, and his name is Rabbi Moshe Feller, and he had a congregant who was a famous professor. No, a famous professor. His name was Velvel Green. So he at the beginning wasn't religious at all, and this rabbi was trying to influence this professor. So he had a little bit of influence. There's different stories how he got to him. And one day, this professor is going on a plane, and he calls the rabbi before he tells him, I'm going on the plane, give me a blessing. And the rabbi tells him, are they serving a meal on the plane? He says, yeah. So he says, order the kosher meal. Kosher? I don't keep kosher yet. Yeah, order the kosher meal. Don't do it for me. Okay, rabbi, for you, I'm going to order the kosher meal. So he calls the airline, orders the kosher meal. Okay. He goes on the plane, and they start serving the food. He's a big guy. He's hungry. He sees everyone's portions. He's starting to get hungry. And they offer him a portion. He's like, no, I ordered the kosher meal. Okay, sorry. They don't give him. And then they come back to him. We're still looking for it. And basically, this long story short, after an hour, they come to him, sorry, no food for you. Now there's already no turning back. He already made an announcement that he's going to have kosher. He was very, very angry. And he's angry at who? No, at the rabbi. He set me up. It's his fault. He gets off the plane, and he calls the rabbi collect on the payphone. He calls collect. The rabbi gets all nervous. What does he want? He accepts the charges. What's the matter? What's the emergency? He says, who you're speaking to? He said, yeah, you said Velvet Green. You're speaking to angry, hungry, super mad, velvet green. You know, I tells him what happened on the plane. And the rabbi doesn't know what to say. So he says, Rabbi, you know what I'm going to do right now? I see next to me in the airport, there's a stand of a food stand, a shopping cart over here selling food. I'm going to get myself a not kosher hot dog or a ham sandwich, and I'm going to put every single not kosher spice on it, and I'm going to enjoy that spice in every single bite of that ham sandwich that I'm going to eat. I'm going to think about you and have you in mind. That's what I'm going to do to get back at you.
Oh, I know a great joke about
One
that.
second. Wait, let me finish. So the rabbi, he's stunned, and he's like, he thinks for a moment, and he says, Velvel, a couple of months ago we were having a discussion, a Judaism discussion, and you asked me if you could tell me what is Judaism in one sentence. Give me pack the whole Judaism in one sentence. And back then I told you I don't have an answer on the spot. I didn't have anything what to tell you then.
I have an answer on the
One
spot.
second. I said, you know what Judaism in one sentence is? Don't eat that sandwich. That's what Judaism is. And he thought about it. He hung up the phone. And this velvet green didn't get that sandwich. And he didn't eat any not kosher food from that moment on.
Wow. So he became religious.
It was slowly. It was a process. But he took upon himself kosher from that moment on. Because really to say Judaism in one sentence is overcoming challenges. And when the challenge looks so big and it's a mountain and you're so angry, you're looking at it as tormenting. Yeah, it's going to be hard, but you look at it as a challenge, and each time you overcome it, that's what Judaism is all about. That's why we have this evil inclination.
So it sounds like you're just climbing a mountain.
That's what we're doing. We're mountain climbers,
Mountains
and
I've climbed.
yes, we're climbing
Judaism.
mountains. We're climbing mountains. Okay, so then we go back and forth over here between the different opinions of how Adam and Eve were created, either from a form or from a piece of skin. For example, one guy says, "Oh, it says in the verse that he closed up the skin," and you're like, so if it makes sense that if you have to cut off the opposite form, then it makes sense that you have to seal it up. If it was just a little piece of skin, okay, a little piece of skin, nothing really to close. So he says, no, you can also close a small piece of skin. This is a typical Gemara back and forth, challenging back and forth. That's maybe why the English didn't put this piece in, because it's not. It's like a Gemara more back and
The
forth.
old story that when God took Adam's rib, he left a hole, and that's where the inclination crawled into his heart.
Oh, yeah?
Have you heard that?
That's your commentary.
Huh?
That's your commentary?
No, that's
You heard it?
I don't recall where, but that's how
Well,
they.
God implanted this evil inclination because that's, again, like we mentioned in the beginning of the class, that's the reason why we're here. That challenge is the reason why we're here. So a couple of details over here, I'm gonna skip some of it, but some details over here is, it says Vayiven, God built up the man, Eve. So according to the opinion that he took just a piece of skin, that makes sense. You have to take the piece of skin and build up a person out of it. But according to the explanation that said he was already a whole form, so what's the meaning of the word Vayiven? He built up. So they explained Vayiven to mean a whole different explanation. It says God, this is a beautiful thing. God, he took Chava's, her hair, and made it into a braid, a beautiful braid, and presented her beautifully to Adam. And the word Vayiven, created, formed, means that he made her hair into a braid, and that was enticing, and that's what caused Adam to want to marry her. One more explanation: God created Chava, and all women's bodies is different than a male. Is that it's more narrow more wider at the bottom and more narrow at the top, more like a tower or where you store food. And why didn't they make towers where they keep food this way and not this way? Because if you put it this way, then it's going to be too heavy on the walls. It's going to collapse the walls. So you have to make it this way. And also, a woman's body is made this way because it should be able to have space to be able to carry a baby.
Form follows function.
Exactly. So that's what it means by even. God formed the woman's body in a specific way that it should match their function. Thank you. What was the word you said about stealing someone's phrase?
Huh?
What was the word you used for that means stealing someone's phrases?
Appropriating.
No, you said something else.
Co-op.
Okay, so following the
Jewish, I
function.
share.
Yeah, we'll share. So
One of
following
those
the
books.
following the function of the woman, which is to have babies. So that is why God created that way. Now comes a discussion: who was in front of who? They're both according to the opinion that says they were attached. So who was the follower? Who was the leader? Now, if Adam wanted to go somewhere, did Chava have to follow, or did it go according to where Chava wanted to go? Who controlled? Who had the remote control?
We already know where she
Well,
went.
this is before. Now it's only for a short amount of time that they were attached.
I got
Probably
this.
Now, Adam has some business.
Probably a matter of minutes, maybe a total of an hour, that they were stayed attached. But who followed who?
They didn't. They were side by side.
No,
And
we
when
said
they
front to back.
traveled, they spun. That's
No,
the
we
old
said we
legend.
said
But
no.
that's
No, we said it was front to
Okay.
back, front to back. So the Gemara doesn't say a clear answer, but it says mistabra. Mistabra means it makes sense to say that the man was in front. The man was in front. Why? Because we have a law, halacha, that says that a man is not supposed to walk behind a woman. First of all, it's not modest to walk right behind a woman,
man is not
and even
supposed to walk behind a woman.
because he
gonna see
could
things.
see things, or he could
I don't know.
steer, or have improper thoughts, or lead to. But even his own wife,
Blame the evil angels. You're hawking and
even his own wife, he's not supposed to follow right behind him, right behind her, because it's not respectful. It's not proper. It's not in English. You say it's not what's the word?
Ethical. Ethical.
Ethical.
Etiquette.
No, etiquette. It's not etiquette.
I think this happened even to Moses, right? Moses.
That what?
He was walking behind the lady he got married.
Tzipporah?
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he went in front of her, and her father saw it. That he was respectful to his daughter and gave him big. Like, wow, this guy is very honorable.
Right. Okay. Beautiful. So because of that, therefore, it makes sense to say that Adam was in front. Like whenever you have a situation where you have a man and a woman going to go together, so you're supposed to let the man should go first, not only because we're better or not. We're not talking here about the
What about side by side?
what.
What about side by side?
So if there's only space enough for one person to go by, so the man shouldn't go.
Walking like this, like on
the
a
man
deck.
goes first.
Man goes first. It says over here, if you buy a bridge, and the bridge only has space for one person
Doesn't
to go
mean,
by, the man should go first.
Female don't have a bad thoughts about men if he's in front.
Of course they do.
Yeah, but it's not. I guess not as
I
much.
wouldn't be here if
Yeah.
they...
Exactly.
Wait. You brought up a very interesting
But
thing.
it actually is brought down in the commentaries. What you're saying is the reason why Adam was in first was the front, is because God created a man in a way that he goes after the wife, and not that the wife goes after him. That's the nature that God created the man. It says, "Darkei shel ish lachzor acher isha." A man, by nature, seeks a wife, and not the other way around. I don't know if this is in the world, but it's in
No,
college.
but
What's more common?
Wait, you touched on something. Etiquette.
Yeah.
Okay. I was brought up to have the best etiquette, very prim proper. Okay. Can you tell me why the yeshivas don't teach their men and women etiquette?
So I'm at school.
That's the rabbi's job.
I'm a school teacher. I teach 4th grade students, and I
Yeah,
definitely
no.
try.
Wait. They got in 4th grade. They're about what, 9 years old?
9, 10 years old. Yeah.
They're little murderers at 9, 10 years. They're
But
they're
I'm
kids,
trying.
They're
I'm
kids.
trying.
They're
They're
still
kids.
kids,
I'm
yeah.
trying. I teach them
Oh,
manners. I
yeah.
teach them.
Teach him to be
I have a book that I use, a whole curriculum. Every day I spend about 15, 20 minutes teaching manners. It needs to be taught. Kids don't know about themselves.
15,
Hold the
20
door.
minutes?
Yeah, it's a long time. Every
No,
day.
what Rabbi means
That's-
to say
that's
is that
all?
he spends around
Hey.
15 to 20 minutes giving every kid in the class a zet.
No.
And
No,
that's how he
it's
teaches
manners.
them.
Hold the door. Say thank you, please.
Yeah.
Who goes first?
And-
Okay, Rabbi,
yeah,
we can be honest with
to
them.
share.
And when they put the food on the table, I've never seen such a stampede in my life. I'm getting elbowed in the eye, I'm getting
Where was
kneed in the groin.
Where was it?
all places.
Like, you have a
Listen,
Not in
kids'
my school.
table.
Not in my school.
Not your,
Kids-
not
No,
your
kids are
place.
kids. Kids are
Yeah,
kids.
I think he's a kid. Yeah, they
But
talk
they,
about-
we gotta work. We teach them.
You ever see a French fry platter? They put it in front of the kids' table and they go,
Yeah.
and they attack it.
Yeah, I
That's
see what
where
you
they
mean.
go.
Yeah. See.
No, it's true. No,
Little
kids,
kids,
kids are
They're,
kids.
they're
Exactly.
giving
They
me
don't care
bite
how hot
marks
the
if I
food
want
is.
to
I
take
guess for
them.
most kids it takes time to get more mature,
Right.
you know?
Wait. And I was taught when you're served or there's a buffet, you take one thing. It's not
Yes.
how high you can build your plate.
Right.
It's not how fast you can get to the buffet.
Different generation, I think, you know?
Right.
It was taught differently.
Wait. How could it be? Wait, let me assimilate.
I
what
agree
you-
with you 100%, you know? Like,
You know, we'll see what happens when you get to the potato latte.
I make this.
Okay.